I've been going back and forth about this next part for a long time. In Matthew and Mark, the timeline pretty much follows the same. I already finished with Peter's denials, so I'm just going to go into what Jesus experienced during this time, which was that he went before the first council. He's already said in John what I put before. He was asked about his disciples and his doctrine. Then he was smacked for it, and he said, "If I have spoken evil, bear witness of the evil." Now, in Matthew it says, they look for false witnesses. 2 said something about the temple. He's asked about it. Jesus stays silent. Then in Matthew it says, "I adjure you by the living God that you tell us whether you, 1, be the Christ, 2, the Son of God." Christ the Son of God. I heard one commentator who believed because Luke actually splits up that question, asked first about being Christ, then later asked about being the Son of God, that this probably was 2 different questions. But Matthew and Mark put them together as if they were one total demand of information. And Jesus responds to both of those questions at once. And his response in Matthew is, "You have said," pretty much saying yes. "Nevertheless, I say to you, hereafter you shall see the Son of Man sitting on the right hand of power and coming in the clouds of heaven." That's an important line. Remember that. That's in all 3. But after this, the high priest rips his clothes and says, "This is blasphemy. We don't need any witnesses. What think you?" They say he's guilty of death. Mark is pretty much the same. They look for witnesses. Some come up, mention the temple. And then he's questioned about it. He stays silent. Again, the high priest asked him, 1, "Are you the Christ, the Son of the Blessed?" I looked that up. The blessed is just another way of referring to God. It's not a different statement. Son of God, Son of the Blessed, those are the same. So the first one, the Christ or the Messiah, that's one, and the Son of God is another. Being the Messiah can be argued from the Old Testament or from the prophets that the Messiah was the Son of God, or that he would be divine, like from Daniel. That's what Jesus is actually referring to here. The Son of Man sitting on the right hand of power, coming in the clouds of heaven. That's from Daniel, and it's even referenced here, Daniel 7:13, in Matthew and Mark, not in Luke. Let me go back and read that. Daniel 7:13. "I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days." That would be Jehovah, Father God. I don't know exactly what he looked like, perhaps just fire. "And they brought him near to him." Both hymns here are in capital H's because they understand this Son of Man coming near with the clouds of heaven to the Ancient of Days is God, next to God. This is the main passage where it can be argued that God is not just one. He is more than one. He's at least 2 in 1. We understand the Holy Spirit to make God to be 3 in 1. But anyway, when Jesus says this, "You will see the Son of Man," he's constantly been referring to himself as the Son of Man. Seated on the right hand of power and coming in the clouds, he's obviously, and they understand that he's referring to the prophecy in Daniel as him making himself out to be God. But still, there's 2 questions. Tell us if you be the Christ, which is a translation of the Messiah, and then they add the Son of God. So are you one with God? Are you pretty much God in human form? And are you the Messiah? Luke has these 2 questions separate. This is as soon as it was day. So now it's daytime. Matthew and Mark, it doesn't say it before, but it does mention after this event that it becomes daytime. Chapter 27 in Matthew, when the morning was come, now after all these events happened, they bound him, went to Pilate. So the council in Matthew and in Mark both happened at night. Then the morning came, they held a council and went to Pilate, or brought him to Pilate. Luke, however, now says they beat him and then, as soon as it was day, the elders and the people and the chief priests and the scribes came together and led him into their council. I'll speak about the timing issue in a minute, but first, Jesus' response. Are you the Christ? That's their whole question. Are you the Christ? Tell us. And he said to them, if I tell you, you will not believe. And if I also ask you, you will not answer me nor let me go. Is that what he actually said? In Matthew, I already read, he said, you have said, and I looked this up, it pretty much just means, yes, you said it, yes. But in Luke, he's not answering. He even says, I will not answer. If I tell you, you will not believe. He's not answering. Mark has the same thing that Matthew has. The Christ, Son of the Blessed. Jesus responds, I am. How much more clearly could it get? They ask him, are you the Christ, the Son of the Blessed? I am. And you shall see the Son of Man sitting on the right hand of power and coming in the clouds of heaven. Exactly the way it's written in Matthew. It's the same context. It's almost exactly worded the same. I am, or you have said. They're pretty much the same. Yes, absolutely yes. He is answering yes. In Luke, he's not answering. If I tell you, you will not believe. And if I also ask you, you will not answer me nor let me go. And it gets even more confusing because immediately after this, still in red letters, Jesus' words, hereafter shall the Son of Man sit on the right hand of power of God. It doesn't mention coming in the clouds, but still, that first part, the Son of Man sitting on the right hand of power of God, that is what is said in Matthew and Mark. I spent a lot of time trying to figure out, is this his one response? Did he respond 2 times? Are these at different times of the day? I initially formed a simple solution, which is to just take this second part where he says, hereafter you shall see the Son of Man, and put that with Matthew and Mark. Leave this part here as a different question. It already has a timing difference. Matthew and Mark are during the night, because then it says when it's morning they went to Pilate, or they had the council and went to Pilate. And this in Luke, as soon as it's day, they held a council. So this could be that council after the day. Then they ask him pretty much the same question, are you the Christ? And then after he responds, they respond to him saying, then said they, are you then the Son of God? And he said to them, you have said it. You have said that I am. Again, that's pretty much just yes. You have said that I am. And they said, what need we any further witnesses? So that part, the end of chapter 22, I would move to Matthew and Mark. And then I would have the daytime comes. Then they held a council and they asked this question, are you the Christ? And this is where he says, if I tell you, you will not believe. And if I ask you, you will not answer me nor let me go. And I would just leave that by itself. However, in many other works, I didn't read the merged gospel Life Jesus Christ in Stereo or any of the other combinations, but I did look up Michael Rood's because I've read it already. I just forgot what he does. He puts the entirety of Luke in this later council after the morning, and the entirety from Matthew and Mark together. So it does repeat when he says, "Hereafter shall the Son of Man sit on the right hand of power of God." I thought that makes no sense. Why would that line be repeated by Jesus to them? If this is like drop the mic moment, bam, he just answered, "I am fulfilling prophecy," it makes sense for him to deliver that once, shock them like it did in Matthew and Mark, to the point the guy ripped his garment and said, "Blasphemy. Kill him." They all say, "Yep, kill him." It makes sense for him to only say that once, not to repeat himself again later on. And besides, the whole point of this work is to get rid of the repetition, so it annoyed me to have them both. So that was my initial simplified answer, but perhaps it makes sense because he doesn't actually answer all of it here in Luke. And when he says this fulfillment of Daniel's prophecy here, it's only the response to them questioning, "Are you the Christ?" only. Then they ask, "Are you then the Son of God?" They separate those two lines of inquiry as two different questions. So maybe this interaction was a totally different conversation at a later time. First he responds these words, and it seems as though their response directly follows his answer. Then said they, "Are you then the Son of God?" He says, "You say that I am." Because the questions are combined in Matthew and Mark, I would have them together. And since they're separate in Luke, I'd have this entire line of inquiry separate later. But the problem, other than just being repeated, is that their final response in Luke is also the same as their final response in Matthew and Mark, which is, "What need have we of any further witnesses?" That is too similar to Matthew and Mark. If they're looking for witnesses earlier on in the night in Matthew and Mark, and then after the morning time they held this next council, and he says again, "What need have we of any further witnesses?" It seems like it's wrong to have that twice. Are they seeking for witnesses the night and in the morning? I don't think so, and that's because Israel is under Roman rule. And they already decided at night that they want to kill him. They said, he's guilty of death. So they're done. All of their investigation is finished. They have reached their conclusion. He's worthy of death. Let's kill him. But they can't because Rome is in charge of them. And Pontius Pilate is this figure that he would judge and send out punishments of death, right? But they only punish for treason. Rome would only punish for treason against Rome. Rome doesn't particularly care about the Jewish religion believing in a God who would send a Messiah, and this Messiah may or may not be God, but this guy who we definitely don't believe claims to be God. It's blasphemy. Rome would not care about Jews' religion. Rome has their own set of religions with all their pantheon of gods, but blasphemy of the Jewish religion would not necessarily convince Pontius Pilate to have Jesus put to death. And that's why when Jesus was actually put to death, on the cross above him it said King of the Jews, because if he's king, he's claiming a worldly authority that would overrule Rome's authority, and that was treason, and that is worthy of putting to death. The Jews, the elders, and the high priest, and a bunch of the other people who are trying to get Jesus killed, they know this. They know Rome is not going to have someone killed because of blasphemy in their religious law, but they would because of treason. That's why they bring this accusation to Pontius Pilate later, we found this fellow perverting the nation and forbidding to give tribute to Caesar, right? Not what he said, but that would be an issue Rome would care about. Forbidding to give tribute to Caesar, saying that he himself is Christ, a king. If he makes himself out to be king, he's subverting authority from Rome to make Israel independent once again, and that would be treason, and Pontius Pilate would kill him for that. That's the accusation that the Jews bring before Pontius Pilate. Which means, after they believe Jesus is speaking blasphemy, he's worthy of death, they now have to figure out some other way of getting Rome to have him put to death. They don't care about blasphemy. They need to have some other reason. It says in Matthew, beginning of chapter 27, after this council, after they find him worthy of death, when the morning was come, all the chief priests and the elders of the people took counsel against Jesus to put him to death. So they are now figuring out how they can have him put to death in this context of being under Roman rule. I think this is where they figure out, or they realize amongst themselves, we have to say that he's committing treason against Rome so that they'll kill him. They won't allow us to kill him, and they won't kill him for our reason of blasphemy, but they will kill him for the reason of treason, saying he's king, and he is now in place of authority instead of Caesar. That's the accusation they bring against him. That's why he is eventually killed. So I think this council at the beginning of chapter 27, which is after the morning, is not another council looking for witnesses, as it might seem in Luke. I think it now would be okay to move. Hereafter you shall see the Son of Man sitting on the right hand of God. They said, are you then the Son of God? He said, you have said I am. They said, we have no need of further witnesses. Move that all back to the nighttime trial when they are looking for witnesses. He gives this line. Then, when it's morning, they question him in regards of being king, of being the Messiah. As they understand, Messiah would be king. He would kick out Roman oppressors. So I'm going to have this question from Luke. Are you the Christ? As them now, they took counsel. They know we have to get him to say he's king so that we can then just present him to Pilate and they'll put him to death. This is where Jesus responds, if I tell you, you will not believe. Which makes sense because he knows the game they're playing. He knows they're just trying to get him to self-incriminate, and he will not respond. That's when they're like, it doesn't really matter anymore. We're just going to say it anyway. He's deserving of death. We're going to bring him and make sure that Pilate believes us, that he is going to set himself up as king. With all that said, I would start with him being brought before the council, false witnesses, him being silent. They question him if he is Christ, the Son of God. I will have that combined because in Matthew and Mark it's combined, and also he has been saying he's the Son of God. That's what they really care about. So I think I will have their questions combined. He responds with, you have said, I am. You shall see the Son of Man sitting on the right hand of the power of God. Then they go into, are you then the Son of God? Because that's what they really care about, blasphemy. And then he responds, you say that I am. I will definitely save after morning the answer from Luke. If I tell you, you will not believe.